seeing that it could be very detrimental to their career. Like, what is your approach to helping the player get back on track and stay out of trouble?
Well, I think it starts even, really before that. I think it's a matter of how you build a connection with your client, and how close you guys are, and will he actually listen? Or a lot of agents or a lot of people around them don't really want to say something they don't want to hear. And that's the safe zone. I consider myself an agent with, again, it also came with experience, that is not afraid to actually say something that I think is going wrong, and then it's on the client, does he want to listen or not?
Yeah.
And that's how it is. So I think when it comes down to these type of situations, you just literally have to make sure you have built the relationship that it has to be, because you're not his best friend, you're not his best buddy going out, and having fun. But you are someone that needs to tell him straight up that this is not how it should be, and you need to solve this, because otherwise you're losing this, and I don't want to be part of it. Sometimes that's what it takes, for him to keep losing people around him, instead of just someone just saying, oh, that's okay, like we can still fix it. um I think that's important.
Yeah. I mean, they always say you never really miss something until it's gone, right? And you don't
Yeah.
really understand the multitude of how it helped you or how it was beneficial to you until it's actually gone. So it's a really great answer. Could you share other key elements of like a successful player relationship, like player agent relationship? I feel like that's really important what you said as far as like having that successful player agent relationship is like being honest and making sure they hear what they need to hear and not what they want to hear. Are there any other things that like you use in order to keep that relationship going well and their career going on the right path?
I mean, bottom line is, the work that I'm doing is all based on the relationship, right? I mean, it's at least the way I see it, and and when it comes to guidance, and talking to them what they need to hear instead of what they want to hear, it also comes with experience. So sometimes I've definitely have said something to the clients that I wasn't supposed to be telling them, or something like that. But 15 years of work now, I think you have to be honest with them from the beginning. We have to be you. We have to be yourself. They have to like you as a person first, and then trust you as an agent, with your experience. And it has to start from the beginning. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think this is where I take big pride in. I think that I have, normally I try to build those relationships, which are long lasting, and hopefully I'm there around throughout their whole career. um, but honesty is one of the main things that that the true relationships everywhere, I feel like, are built on.
Yeah. And that's a big thing because when it comes to players, they're normally in the limelight. And the issue with being in the limelight is people always want to be around you, so they're gonna say what you want to hear. They're gonna be yes men, and you need somebody in your corner that's that stern voice, like, nah, that's not right, dude. Like, we got to do it this way, or this is gonna throw you off track and stuff like that. So, um, great to see like these players have someone like you in their corner that actually will be honest with them. I know it's you see a lot of like players talking bad about agents after they leave and like shicey things they do. So it's good to see some good genuine agents out here helping out. Um, so a lot of stuff goes with you being an agent. One of them is basically getting monetizing your client, right? Making sure they get endorsements and sponsorships. How challenging is it to handle like negotiations with these endorsements and sponsorships?
Um, well, it comes down to the product, right? I mean, and the product for us is the client. It's actually how good he is. So I always say, or we always say at Wasserman, is we have to focus on the thing that actually matters, which is getting better and playing well. I think if that part is going great, then it is not too complicated to negotiate sponsorships and stuff like that because you're wanted. Obviously, we need to, make a marketing strategy, like, where the name is interesting, like what is your angle in the market that you can sell, what makes you interesting, and all of that stuff. We have the whole, group behind us. It's not really my job, but I would, be the one talking to the client, going over these opportunities and deciding what is best for him, knowing his personality, knowing his lifestyle, his off time and stuff. But bottom line, I think you cannot be scrapping for stuff up until you're not really created, or like you're not really mature as a player of who you are on the court.
Yeah.
Because bottom line, everybody would want you sponsor, or more, be on those marketing deals because of who you are on the court, right? Not because of how you look. So I
Exactly.
mean, it's also important for somebody, but like the first thing, everybody has to know you as a basketball player.
100%. And do you find it, because like I mentioned, you worked with NBA, EuroLeague, and Australian players. Do you find it harder finding endorsements and sponsorships in those smaller markets like the EuroLeague and Australia versus the NBA?
Yeah, I think all in all, it's United States is, on a different, spectrum, let's say, when it's
Exactly.
especially when it comes to, marketing and sponsoring and all of that stuff, just because of the audience, the number of people are actually watching those games. Everywhere else is a little bit scattered, even though EuroLeague is, and also Australian League is, growing significantly, and I think each year it's getting better and better, but it's still at the point where it gets more interesting, but it's more interesting for the brands to actually sponsor teams and leagues. I think the next step will be making more marketing opportunities for the players. So the
Yeah,
landscape is definitely different at this moment.
got you. Got you. And uh so let's move on a bit. Got a few more questions for you in this segment. And then we're gonna move on a bit and talk more about basketball verse. But um we kind of talked a little bit about this. Well, here, let's get into this. What are some of your key factors and you consider when negotiating contracts for your clients? Because we just kind of talked about that, but like, what are some of the key factors once you actually get these deals and they come across your table? Like, what are the things where you're like, okay, this is for my client or this isn't? What are the key factors in your determination process?
Well, it depends on the stage of the career, right?
Yeah,
You're really, there's a cycle, there's a start, then there's, a maturity where you're at your best, and then it kind of, then you hopefully can keep that level for quite some time, and then it goes down, right? So up until you reach your best performance level, whenever it is, you try to make, the key thing for negotiations is actually to make sure that you're flexible, and you can get actually the best deal possible when you reach your peak. Up until then, you need to make sure you are in best position possible to showcase yourself, to develop, to get better. And then potentially, when you're actually there, your agent has a chance to, make sure he can get the best deal possible on the market. So that means you have an option there, or you're a free agent there, and stuff like that. So I think that's what's key. And then from that point, obviously maximizing, or, you know, keeping the legacy, or meaning, like whatever your preference is it, make most money possible, win as much as possible, or whatever that is, it's based on the client and what he wants to do.
okay. So I like how you said that, like, make as much as possible or win as much as possible. Without like naming any names or anything, do you feel like the spectrum is more on the make as much as possible or win as much as possible with the clients that you've worked with?
I would say majority still make as much as possible,
Yeah,
because bottom line, not everybody has that thing
exactly.
in themselves, right? To be leaders throughout the whole life. and or whatever. And when you think about it, like how many people will actually remember, I don't even know, Chris Paul, or I don't know, some of these guys that are great, amazing players, right?
Yeah.
But in 20, 30 years from now, I don't know how many of those will be remembered apart from LeBron James and I don't know, Kevin
The Kobe
Durant, even Kevin
Bryant's and
Durant, like,
yeah.
or yeah, like, okay, yeah, exactly. Like, we can name, I don't know, five players
Yeah.
that will just be there forever. But other than that, they will be forgotten. But their wealth, can help the families and can, have a legacy on their own, let's say.
Yeah. So you're working with these players, and like I've done a bit of research. I see you start working with players pretty young. Um, you start looking at players pretty young, and that's kind of more of a common thing, I guess, in Euro than here, just because you guys have a totally different structure. Like Simon broke down the structure of like how European basketball is with the regional teams and stuff like that. Um, what's your process for like preparing these players for the draft if they're going to the NBA or team trials as far as like getting on the country team or the regional team? Like, what's your process of
Yeah.
preparing a player once you get them?
Yeah, so in Europe, the main difference is we don't have this, let's say, high school, college route, where players are kind of independent because they still study and stuff. Like if you want to play in the highest competition level in Europe, you have to be joining a professional team really early that plays, second or third professional leagues. So that could be anywhere between 15, 16, 17. That's the first stage where you have to try to map it out and see where it's best for him to develop, and could be by position. It could be, I mean, same way Americans try to choose, colleges they go to and stuff. And then, so with European clients, it actually takes a lot of time, until you get to the draft. In US, it's a little bit different because a lot of times you just recruit guys, who decided to go to the draft or, leave college. So it's how to say, like it's a completely two different, stories.
Yeah,
um, but both, would go to our practice facilities in LA, prepare for the workouts, do the combine, and we also have our pro day where all of the NBA teams would come and watch them work out, and then throughout June they would fly to individual workouts with the teams.
gotcha. All right. So let's move on a bit. We talked a lot about like struggles of an agent. It was very great answers, a really great insight on how it is to look through the eyes of an agent, right? And then the mindset of an agent. So doing all of that, you've done that the last 15 years, and it kind of led you to what the main thing about us talking about today is you joining the Basketballverse team with us, right?